Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talk Wrestling here on NoDQ.com. Of course, the NoDQ YouTube channel at NoDQCW. Very somber edition of NoDQ's Talk Wrestling here on the channel. I'm actually joined today by Aaron Riff for the first time. I think ever on camera. First time ever joined by Aaron Riff, so that's kind of awesome. What's up, Aaron?
I'm doing good. How are you?
It's been a long night, to say the very least.
I agree on that.
Yeah, it's been a rough 24 hours or so. But before we talk about what I wanted to talk about today, let me address the elephant in the room, I guess you want to say, because people have been asking me left and right, all week on Twitter since I revealed I had watched Raw from last week on the DVR that I had set up. Yes, I am watching Raw again. I missed this week's Raw because there was just too much going on. I didn't have DVR. My dad was DVRing Dance with the Stars, and we were watching the Kings game. So there was no DVR room for the Raw, but I did get to hear about it. Not as good as the week before's Raw, which I did see, which is unbelievably good show. But yes, my boycott is over. I will be watching Raw again. So when you see Aaron and I in front of the camera to tape for payback predictions, I will have current information in my head.
Right. Now, it's been a few weeks since we've done Talk Wrestling, and because of the unfortunate story about Chyna's passing, we decided to go ahead and do this video via Google Hangouts. So if there are any problems, I apologize. This is our first time doing Talk Wrestling here from Google Hangouts, and I've been having some issues getting this set up. It's going to be glitchy a little bit, but hopefully not too much. So let's go ahead and discuss Chyna. Just terribly tragic, and I think for both you and me, it hits harder a little bit more than for other deaths because we actually knew her personally.
Yeah, somebody tweeted me last night when I was in my sob state about the fact that Dusty and Roddy were really hard too. But you gotta remember something. We had Dusty on the old Extreme Mayhem show via telephone. To my knowledge, I don't know if Mike ever met him or not. I don't know if you ever met Dusty or not in person. I never met Dusty. And for me, Joni, what happened with her last night is horrible because when we saw her, she was in the midst of her, I guess, downward spiral is the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
And for me to see her working toward redemption and working toward a similar story of, like Jake Roberts or Scott Hall and getting that redemption and getting into the Hall of Fame and being able to stand on that stage and say, hey, I made it back out of the abyss, people. Now she won't do it. And it really freaking sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's just, it's so terrible. And, I was always pulling for her to get better. And, we met up with her in the end of 2004 into 2005. And what wasn't exactly the most ideal situation for us to be trying to do an interview with her. You guys did interview her back in 2003. You want to share a little bit of your memories doing that interview?
I do remember that she seemed better during the audio interview that we did with her before we did the video interview. She was much more coherent, I guess, much more willing to, I guess, listen to proper questioning. When we did the video with her, it was just chaos the whole night. And to be
Yeah,
honest with you,
that's pretty wild.
yeah, and to be honest with you, that whole year I got to know her because I originally met up with her at her place in Beverly Hills to do an interview with her for Noah's magazine. If you remember that, Ringside Action magazine. If you remember that,
Yeah.
and I did the interview. I got my book signed, and that was awesome. And the book I paid full price for, by the way, people. Some people didn't pay full price trying the book. I did. Um,
No, yeah, I bought her book at the Dollar Tree, and it was, yeah, $1.
Yeah, exactly. And I felt, for a long time, I felt like a goof for paying full price for it. But you know what? Joni was one of those special people that, you really, she is a once in a lifetime personality, not just in the ring, but in your life. She's very much somebody that will make an impact on your life Sometimes physically, right, Aaron? But she really got to my heart, and it really saddens me that the last time I got to see her in person was that night at New Year's Eve, because she had decided that I made my choice of friends when I was continuing to associate with Sean Waltman, and she pretty much distanced herself from me and from all of us.
Yeah.
So that hurt, but I understood it because she was trying to get herself together, and everybody that was around her at the time that we knew her was toxic for her.
Right.
So for me, whatever happened last night, I hope she has found peace.
Yeah, I agree on that. She had an amazing career, and I think it's just unfortunate the circumstances. Now she might end up going into the Hall of Fame when she should have been in it a long time ago. Would you agree on that?
I would definitely agree on that. I would have thought, worst case scenario, that she would have been inducted with the rest of DX as a unit. But yeah, remember, X-Pac, Sean Waltman had a legendary Hall of Fame worthy career, in my opinion. The Outlaws together belong in the Hall of Fame as the Outlaws, not necessarily as DX's Outlaws, but just as the Outlaws, period. So for us to think that Chyna wouldn't have got in by herself, I think is ridiculous. And I think that she deserved it a long time ago. But as many people have said, all of course, last almost 24 hours now, she was on the outs with WWE, specifically Triple H and Stephanie. So it just didn't happen for her, and it sucks.
Right. And I've said this before in previous videos that I absolutely felt and still feel she should go into the Hall of Fame, but I also understood WWE's position. They are a PG company, and there's other people and sponsors, and there's this whole thing about negative publicity, and with all the stuff she was doing, I think that they were just hoping that she would kind of have a stable lifestyle and wouldn't be getting into trouble, and sometime down the line she would have been able to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I think that that's what they were hoping for. And now that she has passed, Triple H has said publicly that they are open to the idea, at least he is. I guess the final decision is up to Vince, whether she goes into the Hall of Fame. I just think it really sucks that she didn't go in years ago because, I talked about this on the video that I did. She was the first woman to enter the Royal Rumble. She was the first woman to hold a man's championship in WWE. And she did the Playboy cover. She had the feuds with Chris Jericho and Eddie Guerrero. She was part of DX. I mean, she had a really memorable run during WWE's hottest period. I mean, what are some of your favorite memories during Chyna's WWE run?
Well, definitely the Royal Rumble entry, because that was huge for any woman, even though she was in there briefly because of Austin. She was the first woman, and she's one of what, one or three now?
Yeah.
So, and for me, she was the first woman to be in the King of the Ring tournament, which was unbelievable.
There you go, that too.
And she was also in, like you said, she was the first woman to hold not just the Intercontinental Championship, but a male-oriented championship in the WWF, which was unbelievable back then. Since then, there's been what? Jacqueline and Harvey Whippleman held the Women's Championship in reverse. So,
right.
For me, that's awesome. For her to set that standard, and a two-time Intercontinental Champion at that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the Hall of Fame should be about, is inducting people that have made a difference in the wrestling industry. And she certainly changed the business, and she was, a trailblazer. She did things that had never been done before and broke a lot of ground, and a lot of people looked up to her for it. And I've been looking at the reactions on Twitter, so many people leaving their comments and all their positive messages about her. I mean, it's just really unbelievable. And all the media coverage. I mean, Los Angeles Times covered it. KTLA covered it. ABC7 covered it here in Los Angeles. So it got a ton of media attention as well. So it was a really big deal for a lot of people.
It really is a huge thing, because this is the first person of the Attitude Era to pass that wasn't during the Attitude Era. Like, Brian Pillman died during that time. Owen Hart died during that time. Rick Rude died during that time. But Chyna's the first to sort of graduate from the Attitude Era, and now she's passed on. So it's a whole other ball of wax now as far as, oh my gosh, the people we grew up watching who we thought were going to find their salvation. I mean, look what happened with Roddy Piper and Dusty Rhodes. They were a little bit older, well, much older than Chyna. And it was
Right.
still tragic for them to pass away. But Joni, 45 years old. That's not much older than you or me, boss, honestly.
Yeah, I know, really.
That's
It. Yeah, I mean, and the whole thing with Triple H and Stephanie, you know, the whole storyline there between them that started as a television angle, and I guess Chyna and Triple H broke up, and then Triple H got with Stephanie in real life, and then shortly after that, not too much longer later, we see Chyna leave the company. So who knows what really went down there? I mean, what did she tell you about that? I mean, what do you know? Anything specific about what led to her departure from WWE?
From what I remember, this is 12 years ago. What I remember is that basically the line that she's towed for the last, almost 15 years now, that she was forced out because Stephanie felt threatened.
Yeah.
And it's simple as that. And what's funny is, I don't know if I ever told you this in person or over the phone in our conversations about the interview, but the day before I took a transit all the way down to Beverly Hills to meet her, Sean X-Pac was still with her at the time, and she had Hunter pick Sean up from her hotel, for her apartment, her condo, whatever you want to call it, and take him to rehab the first time he went to rehab.
Yeah, I'm not sure you told me that before.
So she had seen Hunter the day before I did, the day before I saw her. And she
I was not informed of that. So yeah, that's quite interesting.
Well, now you know. And she was still very shaken up by the fact that the two closest boyfriends she had in her life had pretty much seemed to turn against her.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because of her substance abuse issues that she just wasn't able to really get her life back on track. I mean, after she left WWE, going back to earlier, we talked about the XM interview. That was 2003. I mean, I listened back to that a little bit, and I'll go ahead and upload it since it was a pretty good interview. She seemed very optimistic. She had changed her name to, what was it, Chyna Doll?
Yep.
Changed her name, and she seemed like she was moving forward in a positive direction. But then by the end of 2004, 2005, when we went to do the XMV interview, things were very different, and she never really fully recovered from that. And she'd gone on to do the reality shows, a couple of them, and then she did the adult films. So yeah, she just kept going downhill and never really fully recovered. And she put up a YouTube channel, and some of those videos are quite depressing to watch. I mean, have you seen any of those videos?
I saw the one she put up 3 days ago.
And yeah, that one was really rough.
That one was rough. That was rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anything else you want to add here? We can move on to some other topics going on, but is there anything else you wanted to say about Chyna before we move on?
I just hope that wherever she's watching this show from, if she's watching, that know that we love her and we miss her, and that we hope she's okay.
Well said, Jeff. I really can't add more to that.
Okay.
So let's try to move this in a more positive direction. So as you mentioned at the start, you are done with your boycott of WWE. And I've talked about this on my videos. I feel that the last 2 weeks have definitely been moving in a better direction. I like the fact that they're putting more of an emphasis on the younger talent. And what do you think about AJ being in the top role now in WWE? And do you think it will last? Do you think it should last?
Do I think it will last? No. Do I think it should last? Yes. AJ Styles is without Bryan Danielson being in wrestling, AJ Styles is the best wrestler in the world. He's the top guy in the business, in my opinion. And for him to be in the main event of a pay-per-view, even if it is Payback, is still, as they would say, phenomenal. He deserves it. He's deserved it for a long time. I do think, however, that it's a little bit too fast because he debuted in January and he's challenging for the world title in May.
Yeah, I mean that's one question I've gotten from some people is that he's already the concern is that he's going to peak too soon and then there'll be nowhere for him to move upwards and he'll just fall back into the mid card and that'll be it for him as far as being in the main event scene.
Yeah, exactly. That's my fear too, is that he'll for lack of a better term, blow his wad, and then that'll be it. It'll be what's that?
It's a PG show.
It's not. Yeah, for lack of a better term, the WWE will totally just lay all their cards on the AJ table right away, and then they'll pull back, and that'll be the end of it. I do like the fact that they've got Carl and Luke involved now, and that maybe we'll see a heel turn one way or the other at Payback. That would be kind of awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing I like too is we actually have a storyline going on, and there's some intrigue about what is going to happen, who's going to be on whose side, and how is this going to play out at Payback and beyond. I mean, if it was your call, what would you like to see happen at Payback in terms of a possible heel turn or a possible faction being formed? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's very cliche, but I would honestly help Roman keep the championship, but not turn him heel. And I'll say, and that's going to sound very weird, but everybody in the IWC, everybody in the YouTube wrestling community, whatever you want to call us now, wants to see Roman turn heel. But WWE doesn't want to do that. It's just like they don't want to pull the Cena trigger. They don't want to pull the Roman trigger either. What I want to see is Finn Balor debut on the main roster and join up with Gallows Anderson and take out AJ themselves, and that Roman just sit there and go, okay.
Well, there you have it. So we'll talk about this more this coming week when we do the predictions. We'll talk more about the Payback matches and what we think might happen. The other big storyline, of course, is Shane McMahon being in charge of Monday Night Raw. Now, what do you think about the possibility of Triple H and Stephanie coming back and there being this feud for control of the company between Shane and Triple H and Stephanie?
I kind of like it. I like that, I don't want to see a brand extension necessarily. I don't want to see a split of the roster. What I do want to see is compelling television. And that's what I've seen. I saw it the night of WrestleMania. I saw that online later on. And I watched last week's Raw on my DVR. And I was compelled to keep watching. And that was my whole point at WrestleMania. WrestleMania did not compel me to keep watching. The last 3 weeks of Raw have. And the big part of that is Shane McMahon being in charge and making the matches that people want to see, which has been unbelievably awesome.
Yeah, I agree on that. It's nice to have a babyface authority figure for once, because for so many years we've had the heel authority figures, and it's just a nice change of pace. I am thinking at some point we will see Triple H and Stephanie back. Now, looking at the rest of the roster right now, the tag team division, I mean, we have some new teams in the mix, Enzo and Cass, the Vaudevillains. What are your thoughts right now on the tag team division? And I'll ask you the same question that I've gotten recently. Do you think there are too many tag teams right now?
No, I don't. I think the tag team division is important in WWE, much like the women's division is important in WWE. The tag team division is one of the most popular things that people watch. People watch wrestling to see tag teams a lot of the time. They don't want to see, because if they want to see singles matches, they'll go watch UFC or they'll go watch boxing. You don't see tag team matches in those two sports. You see tag team matches in wrestling, and tag team matches, the hot tag, the continual beatdown of babyface by the heel, the constant flow of the match is what keeps tag team wrestling alive. And I think it's awesome. I love Enzo and Cass. I always have. My girl Maggie in Chicago just obsessed with them. She loves them to pieces. The Vaudevillains, I've known Simon Gotch for almost 10 years because he worked for Gary back out here at Epic back in 2007.
Right.
So Gotch is awesome. I love the Vaudevillains. You know, I love the fact that there's more tag team. The Dudleys are still involved. I love that they're feeding with Enzo and Cass to a certain extent. I like what I'm going to see at Payback between the two young hot teams going for a tag team title shot against the tag team champions.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I mentioned this in my video. I like the fact that it's a full division now where you have top teams, you have teams in the middle, and you have teams on the lower end. And it feels like its own full division for the first time in a very long time.
I would say since the Attitude Era.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember even 5, 6 years ago, there were only, what, 2 or 3 tag teams competing for the tag team titles and not much depth at all.
Yeah, it seemed to really die out when they did away with the unified tag team titles and made them into one, those hideous press penny belts they have now.
Oh, yeah.
And the Heart suffered. Unfortunately, Tyson and Harry suffered because of that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But, you know, now the tag team division is cooking with gas again. It's unbelievable how it's been revitalized the last 3-4 months or so.
Yeah, so I'm definitely happy that they're having more emphasis on the tag team division. And then of course you got the women's division. Natalia's now in the mix. I mean, what are your current thoughts on the women's division? I almost called it Divas division. I keep making that mistake. It's taken some time to get used to the name change. What are your overall?
You are well trained, Rift. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, what are your overall thoughts on the division right now and the future of the division?
I absolutely love that they reintroduced the women's championship at WrestleMania, or introduced a new women's championship at WrestleMania, I should say. And I love the fact that Natty's in the mix. I love Charlotte being this arrogant, cocky, Four Horsemen style heel where she's got to rely on her dad to pick up the pieces for her. But you know what? It works for her. It really does. I like Sasha being there. I like Becky being there. I like the girls that they have right now. It's unbelievable. I keep saying unbelievable, but it is. How everything in WWE seems to have been boosted back up after WrestleMania. WrestleMania is always where it all begins again. That's what they said 12 years ago. But this year really feels like it.
Right. And I just hope that WWE doesn't get discouraged because the ratings have been going down and they haven't really picked up any kind of ratings momentum. But, I mean, it takes time to build up new superstars and new storylines. So I hope they're patient, and I hope the shows continue to have the effort put into it, and you get more of an emphasis on the younger talent and making logical storylines that make sense and have some depth to them. I mean, I like when you have storylines that you can follow from week to week, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat waiting to see what happens next. And that's definitely what we're getting right now with this AJ and Reigns storyline with Anderson and Gallows getting involved.
Yeah, other than the main event from the April 11th LA Raw, I was wanting to see what I was fast forwarding as fast as I could through the DVR commercials to see what was going to happen next. It was really impactful television. And I really wanted to see more and more and more. And I hope, like you said, that they don't get discouraged by the ratings being not so good. And hopefully they continue to move upward and onward.
Right. Now, one more thing we can talk about, a current event going on, is the potential sale of TNA Wrestling. Do you really think that there's any hope for this company at this point, even if they are sold and Dixie Carter is out of power and somebody new is in charge? Do you think there's anything that can be done? I mean, Jim Ross has said that, in his opinion, TNA should have a complete rebranding with a new logo and just a whole new feel to it. I mean, what are your thoughts at this point?
I gotta agree with JR. JR seems to know what he's talking about. He always has. God bless Jim Ross. But I think that TNA needs a complete once over. They are in deep, deep poop, as they say, and they are
Poop?
what's that?
Like Noah Donish poop?
Worse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I love Noah. Just kidding, Noah. We love you. Honestly, TNA is in deep, deep trouble, and they need to have some sort of new life breathed into it, whether it's a sale, whether it's a rebranding, whether it's something. But the talent seems to be there, but the marketing and the storylines are not. And that's the
Yeah, I agree.
problem. They have all these quality talents, the Hardys, they've got EC3, they've got Eli Drake, they got Drew Galloway, they got all these guys, but the marketing and the branding is just not there for that.
Right. And I just know that the TNA name, in my opinion, it's a dead brand. I mean, I think you need, if there's any future for this company whatsoever, I think you need to just go with a new brand, new marketing, new slogans, new look. I mean, you really just got to change everything and just take it in a new direction and reinvent the entire company.
And that's the thing. WCW tried that 16 years ago, and it failed miserably. And I think people are scared to reboot and redo because WCW just collapsed under itself so miserably, even more so than it was in 1999.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot. I mean, it's going to take a lot of money and a lot of patience. I'm not sure if there are too many people out there that are willing to do that at this point. But, I mean, we definitely need wrestling promotions out there in competition. And, you know, I don't know if TNA is ever going to be at that level again where they even came close to being competition back in 2010. I mean, anything's possible, but it's going to be a very rough road ahead and a big mountain to climb to get TNA back to a level that it was once at.
I think it'd be more likely that Ring of Honor becomes a second brand than TNA rebounds.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a possibility you could do some kind of merger too at some point, although I don't know if that would help Ring of Honor being attached to the TNA stigma. I don't know how well that would work for them.
Definitely wouldn't work for them at all. Ring of Honor, I don't get to see them anymore because I don't get comment, but from what I see on Facebook posts, when I see on online posts, they are still awesome. And for them to associate with TNA would be a death knell, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen of Ring of Honor, I did watch a few of their shows that they aired on, what's the channel? I think Destination
America? Yeah.
And my biggest issue with it was just the production values. It didn't feel like a big-time show, and it didn't feel like a major promotion. I mean, it had a very indie feel to it. But if they were able to step up their game production-wise and with marketing characters and doing all that stuff. I mean, you look at NXT, I mean, they do such a tremendous job with everything from the entrances and the music and the lighting and everything that they do with the entire package. It feels like a major league promotion, but it still has the quality that you can see on the indies and in promotions like Ring of Honor.
No greater example of that than Nakamura's entrance. How many people were marking out over Nakamura's entrance at Dallas and then on NXT last week?
Yeah, I mean, that
crazy for the music and the feel of his entrance.
Yeah, I mentioned this. You know, I have to give credit to CFOs. I mean, they've done a really great job with the entrance music. And, yeah, Nakamura just coming out there with the music and the Titantron and everything. I mean, he comes off like a superstar without even having to get in the ring. And, of course, when he does get in the ring, he tears the house down.
Yeah. He and Sammy really impressed me at TakeOver. And he even impressed me against Ty Dillinger on NXT last week. He's right. Good, and his presentation is organic, and it feels right.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I said earlier, hopefully NXT will continue to grow, and these guys will eventually get on the main roster, and we'll see a shift in WWE. I mean, I really feel it's time to start phasing out the big shows and the Kanes and the Mark Henrys and the older guys and really start focusing on building newer stars. And it's going to take time to get the ratings up. But I think by producing compelling storylines with new characters and having the show feel fresh, I think WWE will be able to slowly build up the company and maybe have a new hot period someday where the company is doing really well and business is booming and everybody's happy. I mean, I think it's impossible to please 100% of the fans 100% of the time, but I think there is a way where you can have most of the casual fans satisfied as well as most of the hardcore wrestling fans satisfied.
Well, we in the internet wrestling community can only hope that WWE continues to do well, because that's how we make money.
Well, yeah, I mean that is core to my business, is the popularity of wrestling. You know, some people say I'm just being negative for the sake of it. That's not the case. I mean, when CM Punk did that pipe bomb, that generated so much interest, and people were going on ODQ.com to get more info about that. So the hotter wrestling is, the better my business does. So I'm rooting for WWE, not just as a fan, but from a business side. I want them to succeed more than just about anybody. So it frustrates me greatly when the shows are not up to par.
It is very rare that Aaron will call me, that you will call me about something really hot happening. I'm usually the one calling you going, what the heck? But you called me in Vegas when that pipe bomb dropped. You called me. Like, the site shut down. What the hell is going on up there?
Right, yeah. I forgot you were at that show in Las Vegas.
I was, and it was something, man, I'll tell you.
Yeah, that's what we need. We need this big jaw-dropping moment that will just completely shake the foundation of WWE. So hopefully we can come up with something, and somebody will say, "Hey, let's go with it. Let's take a chance." You know, that's what Vince used to do so well, is take calculated risks and take chances and roll the dice. I mean, that's what I think they really need to do, because I think the company will survive one way or another, but I don't see it hurting at all to take more chances. I mean, WWE has a core fan base, and even if it doesn't work out, I think you'll still have that core fan base, and at least you gave it a shot. And I think that's what WWE needs to do, is just step up their game and give the people something shocking, and give them something intriguing and something to really bite down on and get into.
Yeah, I mean, look at it this way. There was so much negative anticipation on the launch of Nitro, because, oh my God, they're going to split the audience down the middle. We're going to have no more fans watching either show. It's going to be a limited audience watching each show. And all of a sudden, they created new wrestling fans. But by a simple launch of another program against the WWF, the business changed. That's what we need, a complete business shift by somebody going, hey, Vince, I got competition for you. Let's see what you can do with it.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's unlikely we're going to get any kind of legitimate competition from another company, but WWE can still do things to shake things up and just really change the foundation of the company. You know, we think we've seen it all, but that isn't the case. There are new ideas and new concepts out there. We're just waiting on somebody to be able to have the power to make those concepts happen. I do believe we can see new things on WWE TV, and new storylines and new characters and new concepts that haven't been done before. I do feel it is possible. It's just a matter of people being creative and going out there and taking chances.
Well, maybe with the resurgence of NXT, the revitalization of NXT from Triple H, maybe he'll get more and more say as time goes on. Maybe we'll see a shift like that at WWE, hopefully.
Well, I know that's what a lot of people are hoping for. So we'll see what happens with that. And before we wrap this up, I'll go ahead and mention EWF on May 6th. It's their 20th anniversary show. It's in Covina, California. Our good friend Wade Needham will be doing commentary, and it's $10, I think. $10, $12. What is it exactly for the admission? Do you know?
I know it's $20 for VIP front row. I think everybody else like us is going to be $15, I think.
Yeah, it might be a little bit more since it's the big show. But, yeah, if you do the $20 VIP, you get to meet Kazarian and Melina. So that's
awesome.
$20. And, you know, it's a great wrestling show, family-friendly. The atmosphere is really fun. And, yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. I'm not Don West here. I'm not the best sales pitchman, but it's a lot of fun. And Jeff will be there. I'll be there. it's a great thing to do on a Friday night and support indie wrestling. This is their 20th anniversary show, EmpireWrestlingFederation.com. Anything else you want to add to that?
Just that, honestly, if you guys are in Southern California, or even if you're not, and you're looking to come to Southern California to see wrestling, come see this show. The main event itself, Uptown Andy Brown versus Gary Yap's Man in Black, is going to be something that's going to be talked about in SoCal indie wrestling for years to come.
Yeah, and if you're going to come to one wrestling show, whether you're in San Diego or Santa Barbara or Bakersfield, come out for one day. Make a weekend out of it and just come see one show, because I'm almost certain you will have a great time and enjoy yourself.
I know you guys will. You guys will have a lot of fun at this show, and plus you get to see me and Aaron when you need them. So there you go.
There you go. So anything else you want to add? You want to go ahead and wrap up this video now?
I will do that. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, Joni, we love you. We miss you, and we hope you're okay. And we hope you found peace wherever you are. And for this episode of Talk Wrestling, along with Aaron Rift, I am Jeff Meacham saying we will see you next time.